Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Garvin Thomas. If your faith in humanity has been running a bit low lately, well, our job for the next half hour is to fill that faith back up. We have a bunch of stories about people going out of their way to help others simply because it's a nice thing to do. We begin with a story about not just one good deed, but two. There are many out there who are fond of comparing the year we've just endured to a dumpster. Most often, one that's on fire. But while this story does indeed include a dumpster,
Do you want me to tell the whole story?
it feels, Evelyn Topper says, like everything the past 12 months was not.
Just a beautiful story.
It begins, Evelyn says, at this San Rafael coffee shop. There she is on the shop security footage, paying for her decaf chai latte, then putting her wallet back in her pocket, but not zipping it closed. When Evelyn got home, the wallet was missing.
I couldn't find it. And what was in this little wallet is everything I own. And I was distraught.
Right over here.
But just a day later, Evelyn got a call from this man, Sean Curry.
They get rid of a lot of stuff.
Sean, who's been homeless for the past 5 years, found Evelyn's wallet in a dumpster behind the coffee shop and wanted to return it to her. The cash was gone, but the credit cards were still in it. A friend had suggested Sean use them. He said no.
I did it because I got a heart. It's the way I was brought up. I'm an honest person at heart.
And I started screaming. I said, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. This is so wonderful. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. Do you know what a mitzvah is? He says, not really. I said, well, it's like a good deed.
What makes this story even better is that the good deeds weren't done. Evelyn's 12-year-old granddaughter, Michaela, was having a birthday. She was asking for donations instead of gifts, but hadn't quite settled on who should get the money until she heard about Sean.
I wanted to give to somebody who really needed something.
So when the guests pulled up for Michaela's socially distant drive-by celebration,
Thank you.
there were balloons and party favors, but also a picture of Sean and a basket for donations.
$250, $275.
They ended up collecting hundreds of dollars
Well, here you go.
that Michaela gave to Sean the very next day.
I'm humbled. I'm just blessed. It's hard to express words for it, I'll tell you. I really, I'm at a loss. I'm warmed by it, 100%.
I think that it's really important for people to think that just because you got pushed down doesn't mean that you can never come back up again.
Two good deeds by two very different people,
Happy birthday!
teaching us all one valuable lesson in the power of kindness. Not long after our story first aired, Michaela's family started a GoFundMe campaign to help Sean out. Well, that ended up raising more than $50,000 to help get him off the streets. Our next story isn't about a donation of money, but talent, and how one man used his special talent to say thanks to those serving on the front lines of the pandemic.
Here, see, this is the real artist look.
When you're an artist like John Deckard, working from home is nothing new.
I'm 72 now, and I've been painting since I was 19, 20 years old.
So when the pandemic hit, it didn't change how John painted. It has, though, changed what or who he paints. John couldn't help but notice the people around him who didn't have the option of staying at home.
So I just, I started doing all these, the milkman, the delivery guy, the mailman, somebody working at the cash register. It was like all of these occupations that they just had to keep working.
It was the start of a series of portraits of people who risked their health to keep our world working. Once finished, John gives the portrait to the subject for free. John has lately been focusing on those working on the very front lines, nurses at Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital.
There's time and there's thoughtfulness to it.
Sheila Smith has been a nurse at Memorial for 18 years. she got a message from John asking her to take a picture of herself and some colleagues, which John then spent hours upon hours turning into portraits.
It's like one of my prized possessions now because it just represents an amazing act of just thoughtfulness and kindness, a bright light during a really hard season of being a nurse.
I felt very honored to be included in one of his portraits.
Lori North also had her portrait done. The two nurses say over the past year they have received gifts of gratitude for their work, such as food or masks, but nothing like this.
It's acknowledging what they have done and thank you. And I have a special skill, and you shared whatever skill you have, and I'm sharing mine.
A truly timeless gift, honoring just how important their roles have been during such a troubled time. Of all the businesses that have had a tough time recently, restaurants would need to be near the top of that list. Many have closed for good. But we recently heard about one restaurant that looks like it's going to make it, thanks to a community that has its back, and vice versa. This is at its heart a love story. Not between two people, mind you, but between a Santa Cruz mountain town and its Chinese restaurant. Boulder Creek loves the Red Pearl and its owner, Jenny Wu. And Jenny, well, she loves them right back.
Hi, Josh.
And both have spent the past 12 months proving it to each other.
They are so nice. Everybody so friendly. Yeah, they just want to help you. This one is chef specialty.
Jenny has run the Red Pearl for 15 years. The last one, of course, being by far the hardest.
Yeah, last year, super hard. Yeah.
Not only has the pandemic, like everywhere else, cut into restaurant business, in August, the CZU wildfire ripped through the region. Jenny lost everything when her home burned to the ground, and the restaurant had to be closed for weeks. The moment the evacuations were lifted, though, Jenny was already thinking about how to help her neighbors.
Well, we were all just really freaked out.
Valerie White is a friend and customer.
First thing she did when she came back into town was put tables out there and have meals for the entire community. So that's how Jenny is.
The community, in turn, raised money to help Jenny get back on her feet. But the story doesn't end there.
Beef broccoli.
Then in January, during a power outage, a thief stole $1,000 in cash from the Red Pearl. As word of the theft spread through the community, a GoFundMe popped up that's raised more than 6 times what Jenny lost.
Just the love and gratitude that she showed everybody else. Once everybody heard that she got stolen from, I instantly knew it was going to go viral for her.
Valerie Wildflower says customers are also going out of their way to give Jenny business. They were so swamped recently, the wait for food was 2 hours, yet nobody complained. Still others just stopped by to put money in Jenny's hand.
Oh yeah, I feel tears. I feel so moved.
Over the past year, we've heard a lot of people use the phrase, "We'll get through this together." Often, those are just words. But every once in a while, if we're lucky, we get to see what that really looks like in action. Don't go away, because we have plenty of good news left to share about someone, coincidentally, who's also sharing good news, and the story about good news made even better by a very long delay in delivering it. The Bay Area Proud series is all about sharing the good that happens in every community, everywhere. Our next story, though, is about a young man who is dedicated to sharing the good news from one very specific community, his own. Everyone sees the world through their own lens. It's just how humans work. But if Jeffrey Pettaway is successful at his work, people might just understand his world better after viewing it through his lens.
I feel like this is like the work that I need to be doing like right now.
Jeffrey, now 22 years old, grew up in East Oakland. You'll find few people as proud of where they live as Jeffrey. He looks around and sees diversity, energy, and art everywhere. Still, he is clear-eyed about his city's struggles. He saw those too firsthand.
I can't really pinpoint what path I could have went down on. Boys can end up in gangs, or they can end up drug dealers, or, wherever the case may be. I never got to that point.
Mindful of having navigated all that, when Jeffrey graduated high school in 2016, he decorated his cap with the phrase, "The hood produces quality."
So I put that on my cap just to, it was like my battle cry, basically.
But it stayed just words in Jeffrey's life for 3 years until he came up with a way to bring it to life, producing short films about the people from Oakland doing good things with their lives and good things for the world.
Share that with the world, just tell different stories, people from all different backgrounds, and what they've gone through and where they're going, or what they're doing now.
Jeffrey has already completed a couple of episodes of the Hood Produces Quality series.
You don't have to stay like that, though.
And is now working on his next, a profile of Dwayne Akins Jr., co-founder and executive director of Oakland's We Lead Ours nonprofit.
Go back to the top of the steps, and I'm going to follow you down.
Jeffrey says he was drawn to the project as a way to add purpose to his life. A good deed, as he sees it, sharing the good work of others. The subject of our next story is also laser focused on his community. His goal is to give his neighbors a reason to smile, provided that is, they know just where to look.
Then we can go.
There are many ways to leave your mark on this world. Dave Coleman knows that. In fact, he's been leaving quite a few of them around his hometown of Castro Valley. They are meant simply to leave a smile on people's faces, so long as they know just where to look.
I like play. I think one shouldn't outgrow the ability to play, and surprise people. This is a quadcopter or drone.
Dave has always been a bit of a tinkerer, but after retirement from a successful career as a systems analyst, Dave's maker mode kind of went into overdrive. Dave built drones and remote-controlled vehicles from scratch.
It's really a pretty cool deal. I was pretty proud of this.
He even built his very own remote submersible. But it was on his CNC router, which of course he built himself, that Dave began carving out a new niche for himself: faces. Once finished, Dave got the idea to place them on trees and telephone poles around town, and got a kick out of the idea of people discovering them.
It's fun for me, and it tickles my creative bones or whatever, but the added bonus is it's a kick for other people to find these things.
That has now spread to these fairy doors. Dave carves them, local Girl Scouts decorate them, then he places them at the base of telephone poles around town.
Total of 96 of them now. So I've done a lot of those.
Dave actually has a map of where every single fairy door is, but doesn't want to make that public. Being surprised by them, he says, is part of the magic. Bringing smiles to his community, part of his service. Still ahead, not every attempt to help others ends in success, but that's no reason to stop trying. And a reminder of just how kind a departed relative was, courtesy of the U.S. Postal Service. Housing, often the lack of it, is one of the defining issues of life in the Bay Area these days. It's an issue so massive, it's hard to believe sometimes that one person can make a difference. But an Oakland man we recently met is going to give it a try. Any home, no matter how big or small, is always put together piece by piece.
I got it.
One of the things, though, that makes the small home Dan Bodner and his team are putting together special is just how few pieces it takes. But make no mistake, his goals for it are very big.
I do believe the idea is a good one. I do believe that we are going to end suffering for a lot of people.
We first met Dan 7 years ago when the IT consultant created inexpensive 3D printed prosthetic hands for children who needed them.
Let's see how it's going to fit you.
Turns out, though, there was a flaw in Dan's plan. The kids didn't really want them.
It turns out that those kids are who they are. They were born that way. They know how to get through the world the way they are. They don't really want a prosthetic hand. This thing started out in my garage.
Instead of being discouraged, though, Dan says the opposite happened. He was encouraged by his ability to create something to help others. He just needed a new target for his energies. Dan found it on his daily commute, passing ever-growing homeless encampments.
From Oakland to San Francisco day after day for many, many years, it became a journey through suffering.
The day he saw the aftermath of a fire that killed a homeless person, well, that was it.
I'd say that was perhaps the pivotal moment. I started thinking about, well, what could I do personally, me? I mean, I'm just one person, but I can think of an idea. Maybe I can come up with something. This is all pre-wired.
Dan set his engineering mind to creating a better shelter and has come up with one he thinks could really help on a large scale. The Quick Haven Transitional Shelter is a packable, storable shelter that can be assembled by 3 people in 30 minutes with just a single tool. It is sturdy, secure, relatively inexpensive, and Dan thinks best of all, attractive. A village of these, rather than sheds or other makeshift structures, could lead to greater community acceptance.
It's going to look sharp, and these things have a modern, stylish appearance.
Dan says interest in his shelter has been great even before they've started production. He understands homelessness is a complex problem, but he just hopes his shelters end up being one big piece of the puzzle. We're back in 2 minutes with a story 10 years in the making. Thanks for waiting around for our final story tonight, but rest assured, you didn't wait nearly as long as those involved in it. For all the scrutiny the U.S. Postal Service has been under lately, it still offers a remarkable deal. For less than $1, they'll deliver an envelope to any address in the United States in a matter of days. Of course, a letter that took years, well, that would be a problem. But that's not the case with the one that landed in this Livermore mailbox.
I was flipping through it and I saw this blue envelope and I pulled it out and my heart stopped.
Kim Grudel calls it a blessing.
This is from my dad.
The letter from Kim's dad, Dennis, was sent 10 years ago. He died in 2016.
And I thought, how can this be? He's been gone 5 years.
It was actually Kim's husband, Kevin's name on the envelope.
I pulled it out and there's a greeting card, that is addressed to me, telling me congratulations on my new job, which I got 10 years ago.
There was also a handwritten note, a $50 check, and a $25 gift card to Outback Steakhouse. The first thing Kim did was ask a local Facebook group if anyone else had received old mail. They all said no. But as person after person said they wished they had, Kim realized just how special this delivery was.
Yeah, it's just one more conversation with Dad, and how blessed to have that 5 years later.
Of course, we checked with the post office to see if they had any idea why the letter took so long to reach its destination. They didn't. A spokesman did tell us, though, that every once in a while a letter falls through the cracks, literally, and not until a piece of machinery is moved or a building sold is it discovered. Still, no matter how many years it's been, they make sure it finally makes it to its destination.
I cannot fully explain how happy I am for you.
So while the mystery of the letter remains unsolved, the meaning to Kim is quite clear. Sending kind and supportive notes was exactly the kind of thing Dennis did while he was alive. Being reminded of that all these years later is what turned this letter into a gift.
You read that note, you hear his voice again, see his writing, touch something he touched. It was really special. I even smelled it. Does it smell like Dad? But no, it doesn't.
Thank you so much for spending some of your precious time with us. I hope we delivered on our goal of restoring a little faith in your fellow human. You can always catch new Bay Area Proud Stories Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. on NBC Bay Area, and catch up on any of the hundreds of Bay Area Proud Stories we've done in the past by going to our website, nbcbayarea.com/Bay Area Proud. And finally, if you know of someone who's done something good for someone else, I'd love to hear about it. Just head to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram and search Garvin Thomas NBC. Take care.